Hi, welcome back to Forever Young. We were covering food allergies on our last segment, and we're going to go right into how you know you have food allergies. And so, with me, personally, I did this for myself many years ago. I was having rosacea on my face, like bright red, itchy, horrible things, and it just looked terrible. And I didn't know why, and I kind of was assuming it was food. So I fasted. I just took all food off my diet, and then I added one thing in, and it took me a couple weeks. And as soon as I added peanuts, which I suspected I had some allergy problem, but as soon as but it wasn't as bad as wasn't the rosacea that I was looking for. As soon as I added dairy back in, my face got red and blotchy, and so I figured out personally it was dairy. And that's how it was, by fasting and putting one thing in and at a time. Because if you're, like Ann was saying earlier, you're doing gluten and casein or dairy or wheat and dairy, you don't know which one it is. So,
exactly.
Yeah, so I figured out, for me, that's how I did it, by fasting and then just adding that one food that you should be suspect, because usually when you eat something, you'll have a headache afterwards, you'll feel kind of loopy, kind of lightheaded, you don't feel right, you feel tired, you feel fatigued, you feel like, you need a nap all the time, and that's probably a food allergy, issue there.
What do you notice with food allergies, Eric?
I noticed nasal congestion, fatigue, tired, itching, skin. I know dairy and gluten cause skin allergies, kind of like you have. Mm-hmm. And I mainly, classically, the worst allergy symptoms I have are constant congestion and snoring at night, because your nasal passages are all clogged up with mucus from the constant histamine release and the conscious mucus production. Then I'm constantly blowing my nose, and just stuffed up, and just constantly not being able to breathe out of your nose. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people have that symptom as well, as in addition to the skin problems. The skin is kind of like the filter where everything comes out. Whatever the body can't deal with, it usually comes out in the skin problems. So,
I noticed with me that you tend to have. I had bone pain, a lot of bone pain, and when I went to the medical doctor, I kind of thought it was some sort of allergy, just because I already had trouble with dairy, and but I'll tell you, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought I had some kind of musculoskeletal thing like MS or something, or fibromyalgia, just because bone and joint pain, and so tired. It's like I would get up and I didn't even want to stand for a long period of time. And
yeah, it sounds like you have some autoimmune problems from the food.
And when the gluten went away, when I made it go away, that and dairy together, it seemed to totally. I don't get the bone pain anymore, unless I haven't ever had it like I did. But when I overdo, and I don't do my digestive enzymes, which we have to talk about too. And if I do get gluten and dairy together, and me, I never do anything halfway. I just tear it all up at once.
Yeah,
then I will
too.
get it again. I will get that tired, overwhelmed, just exhaustion and irritability. Another thing, terrible irritability. I have a real short fuse when I'm feeling like that. I don't know if you guys do, but
I think it's just human nature.
You're much more irritable. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, human nature. If you don't feel good, you get cranky.
Now, when you say bone pain, do you mean like deep down pain? Just like achiness and pain?
Like aching in the bones, almost like okay, another thing, and this is going to sound really crazy, but if I bump my shin, it hurts my whole body. It's
painful.
Awful. It almost makes you want to faint. You don't, but it's that bad.
Yeah.
I just was like, what is wrong?
Yeah.
I started to wonder if maybe I was lacking some vitamin, but when I left the food alone, it all went away. So isn't that weird?
Yeah,
It sounds like it was triggering an autoimmune disorder.
Well, it comes back to that theory of how we want to stay away from white flour, white sugar, and white potatoes. It feeds that problem, like in the bones. If you have a fracture, or if you just have a compromised area, it gets in there, and then the wheat feeds it, and it expands and grows, just like here when you get grass in sidewalk, and it waters and it grows and expands the sidewalk. Your bones get to do the same thing.
Oh wow!
So if a fungus or a bacteria gets into the bone, and then you feed it the wheat, it turns into sugar in the body, and it expands and causes aches and pains.
Whoever would have thought that?
Yeah, so
that is wild.
That's a theory, yeah.
Well, the other thing that I would think kind of goes along with the food aspect of it too is, should we talk about digestive enzymes now?
Yeah.
Is that something?
Yeah, the enzymes.
Yeah, did you bring the allergy enzymes?
I forgot the enzymes, but that's okay. We can still talk about it. Enzymes are crucial to life. I mean, they're vital. They give you the energy when you digest your food. And they found there's a study that after the age of 27, your enzyme production, because we all produce enzymes, every human being, and after the age of 27, the enzyme production goes down, and it just goes downhill from there. So that's why it's important to supplement with enzymes.
Because enzymes are kind of your life force.
Well, do they figure that it's always been that way? Were people always losing enzymes, or is it getting worse as the ages
No,
go on?
I think it's just that's the way. I think it's always.
It's a part of aging, but I'm sure it's getting worse. Like most things, it's
doesn't
getting
it
worse.
seem to you
It's
like
probably
it
worse.
must be because you never had all these people with these gluten problems and these dairy problems? It's running rampant now.
Yeah.
Why is that?
People are eating a lot more gluten, I think, and they're eating more of everything. So
Yeah.
and everything's accelerating.
Well, plus the food is also so overly processed that it's hard for digestion. It's not really natural. It's not like for human consumption in some aspect.
I've often wondered if you had dairy that wasn't homogenized, or that
Yeah,
or-
RBST and it's hormones.
And say you had somebody with a
RBGT.
milk allergy, but yet say they were taken and they lived on a farm or something, and that's all they had whenever they got dairy was the fresh stuff and the best, freshest foods. Would they be able to tolerate it, or would it still be the same? You wonder.
Yes, because the enzyme would be intact if it's raw. That's one thing about raw, natural, live foods that they're not been overly cooked, overly processed. The enzyme is in there. It's the way human nature, I mean, not human nature, but that's the way nature designed for our human consumption.
So is that
As the
why,
enzyme's in the food. It's in the raw milk.
and that's why we need the enzymes then, because we're replacing what we're not getting because it's being overprocessed?
Yes, like overheated, overcooked, pasteurized, put
But
in
strictly
jars.
allergy speaking, if you get certain enzymes, they can actually eat up the allergen before your body senses the allergen. So they're kind of tricking the system.
Like a little Pac-Man.
Well, now, are these allergens, or are these enzymes, I mean, is this just for food allergies, or do you have this if you have like a mold allergy and stuff like that?
Yeah, we have both actually. So it's a little confusing. So we have allergies. We have enzymes that help, like the glutenase that you take before you eat gluten, that helps you digest it. Although it's not perfect, you really have to. It's hard to remember to take it. You got to take it roughly about an hour before you're going to eat it. So you got to know you're going to eat it.
Oh,
it
an
can't be an
hour
impulse.
before, huh?
Probably ideally an hour before.
Oh, wow. I've been doing that wrong. Okay.
Yeah, you've been doing
Well,
half an hour.
it doesn't matter because there's a lot of studies that before, during, and after. Enzymes are before, during, and after. You can take it before you eat, while you're eating. I mean, like say you just remember you're eating, you're in the middle of a huge meal that may not be, might have some wheat in it. Just take them right then, right as soon as you remember. And then afterwards, if you say you forgot completely and in your stomach, you say, oh wow, I forgot to take my enzymes. Well, just take them. You'll benefit from it.
How do we know how many to take?
I pop them like candy. Says you cannot take too many.
I took when I had the gluten allergy to the seitan, and I took the glutenase, and I still broke out. Because I was eating pure gluten.
Yeah.
I was eating a quarter of a pound of pure gluten.
Woo!
Yeah.
Not only gluten, but heat-damaged gluten because it's been
Right.
baked and fried.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's
Yeah.
even more allergy-forming because it's been heat-treated.
Processed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, how do you know? Okay, what if you have dairy and gluten allergies? How do you know what enzymes to take? Because obviously glutenase is for gluten. How
Right.
do you handle it if you have, say, dairy and eggs?
Lactose. There's an enzyme that you want to look in the bottle, and it's called lactose. Right?
Lactase.
Lactase.
Lactase?
With an A.
Yeah.
But that's for dairy?
Lactase.
Yes.
Yes, that will eat up the dairy like Pac-Man.
Really?
Pac-Man, yeah.
Now, what about like you have other ones that are kind of like full spectrum ones, don't you? Like your Digest Gold or your
Digest Spectrum.
and Digest Spectrum.
And base.
Now, the question that I have is, does somebody do better to take a full spectrum enzyme, or should they take the individuals together? Like, say you're allergic to gluten and dairy, should you take glutenase and lactase, or should you take a Digest Gold or a Digest Spectrum?
Probably both. Both
Yeah,
of them.
that's what I
So,
do.
so what you're saying is you should take, when you eat a meal, you should take glutenase and lactase and
Digest Gold.
Yeah, if you know you're allergic to gluten and wheat, and you still want to indulge, I think
Yeah.
you need all three of those.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
definitely.
Or you just have to
Really?
avoid it, you know.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to
Yeah.
avoid it completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Then-
It's hard to avoid
Well,
completely.
then you got to get the enzymes, or you got to
Yeah.
suffer. One of the
Yeah.
well, those are your options, basically.
Yeah, enzymes or suffer. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a break here from Forever Young, and we'll talk more about allergies when we come back from these messages.